Hi everyone, Kieran Brown here, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about my week 2 carnivore results. So I've already done 2 previous videos on this sort of like mini series. So I'm just going to go through the past like 7 days and just make some comments and yeah, see how I've done. So week 1 actually went really well, and I mentioned how I thought it was surprisingly easy. Well, that has backfired because this week was much more difficult, um, particularly day 11 and 12. I had really low energy. My gym performance was terrible. I just really wasn't like feeling too good. So I did some troubleshooting and found a video by Dr. Sean Baker, and it was addressing like this exact problem. If you're feeling sluggish or a bit lazy, how do you fix this? And he said it would be one of two things: either dehydration and lack of like electrolytes, or just not eating enough. And straight away, I was thinking to myself, it's probably the latter. It's it's so strange with this diet. Like you can't overeat. Like your body won't let you unless you force feed yourself. Then it's just not going to happen. And the bigger problem is under eating, because you have to completely relearn your hunger signals, like your fullness signals, and learning when to actually stop eating. I find it so much more difficult to actually figure out like uh, what that point is of satiety. And one time last week, well, in my first week, like I definitely overdid it because I felt like terrible, and I was definitely like force feeding myself by the end unintentionally. And the main rule with eating this way is that you have to just keep eating red meat until it stops tasting good. And it's quite difficult to gauge, particularly at the start. I think as the days go on and getting better and better. Um, so yeah, basically after that day, I've committed to just trying to eat more and sort of go a little bit beyond the point I was going to. Interestingly enough, on I think day 11, I just woke up and like I wasn't too hungry, and so I decided just not to eat in the morning, and in the afternoon went on like a huge walk, 20,000 steps, came back, tried to eat um, like some steak, and I literally like, couldn't finish it. Also tried to have like some of the mince meat. Again, just barely had any. So I've barely eaten in this day. I've done 20,000 steps, and what happened to my weight? Nothing. It didn't go down like at all. I'll show you my body composition stats for the day. Um, but yeah, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what's going on? And then the next day, day 12, the gym session was just like awful. I felt weak all day. Even turning up to the gym, like I, I just knew I wasn't feeling strong, and yeah, my lifts were down like quite a bit. And as soon as I started to eat more, particularly on gym days, I've now started to eat twice a day. Well, so I was eating twice a day anyway, but the first meal would be quite small. Like I wouldn't go up to the point where the meat stops tasting good or like I feel full. I would just have like have a little bit just to satisfy the hunger, and then I'd just have a big meal in the evening. Yeah, once I did that, um, the gym performance started to improve again, and it's still actually not recovered to um, sort of the back end of last week, but at least it's on the up. I mentioned in the last video that the minced meat was getting a little bit boring, And one tip that I heard was to make it a bit more interesting is to make the mince into burger patties. So what I've done is I've ordered a burger press from Amazon. So you just load it up with your mince, and then you just like press it down, and it'll come out in the perfect shape of a burger. And then you just cook that like normal. And apparently, well, you can cook that sort of like medium rare, whereas the mince is obviously it's all cooked like the same. So that might help to keep things interesting a bit. Stalls are still very fluidy. Um, I would have thought that would have passed by now, but possibly I'm eating too much fat. But from recommendations I've seen, like with just eating minced meat, the higher the fat percentage, like the better, really. Sometimes up to like 50% fat beef mince. In like the supermarkets, it goes up to like 20 usually. I've got 30% fat mince, which I've had to order online. I can't find it anywhere in the shop. I even went to my local butcher, and they said they didn't do anything like that because everyone just wants lean meat these days. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking with that, maybe I might give it another week, and then if it's still happening, then I'll drop down to like 20% fat beef mince instead, which have like more protein as well. No muscle soreness still, which is great. I'm thinking of increasing my training frequency to 2 days on, 1 day off. So I've been doing training every other day at the moment, but because I'm just not really getting sore at all, I'm thinking, why not try and make the most of some extra volume. And my weigh-ins always seem to be better on like training days as well. So I went to the gym yesterday. I'm going to go today as well, and then have a day off tomorrow. So I might experiment with that for a week or two, and yeah, see how it is. And the number one indicator for me at the moment is just those strength numbers going up. Like if those numbers are going up, then everything's working, in my opinion. Like because I'll have plenty of energy to keep increasing strength in the gym. It obviously means I'm eating enough, and from the weigh-ins and just learning about the diet in general, you can't really put on body fat because this is a zero carb diet. There aren't any spikes in insulin, and insulin is the fat storage hormone. So if insulin doesn't get spiked, then your body just doesn't have any reason to put on fat. And if you're listening to your tasting signals as a sign of when to stop eating, then you won't overeat. So that's pretty much what I'm going for, really, is just making sure my lifts are going up in the gym and sort of letting the rest take care of itself. Still zero brain fog, which is amazing. That was one of the big reasons why I wanted to try this diet in the first place. I just feel like so focused pretty much all the time, which is just helped massively with like productivity. I'm still playing around with like eating times, especially because Chafee recommends that you train fasted. Like he always trains fasted. He said that's where he feels his best, but to also eat twice a day. So that would mean really that the best time to train is in the morning, like as soon as you wake up. And I'm thinking about experimenting with that at the moment. I train at 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day, so I wake up at 6, and then I like to get my work done, like get these YouTube videos done, and then once all that's finished, then I'll go to the gym, and then that sort of signals like the end of the work day, which I quite like. But if I go to the gym at 1 o'clock, then I'm not really fasted. I usually eat at like 10. And I certainly found on that day where I trained really poorly, I went to the gym like usual at 1, and but I didn't eat before, and I just felt like awful. And my previous experience with training fasted has just not been good, particularly on leg day. Honestly, like, probably the two worst sessions I've ever had were when I did leg days fasted. Like, I felt like vomiting, honestly. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna tinker with things like week by week. Like, it's only been 2 weeks, um, so I'm sure once the gym performance has come back, like, I hope everything will sort itself out. Another thing as well is I heard someone talking about this concept called bodybuilding ADHD, and it's basically where you start with like a gym program or like diet program, and then you might have like a couple days of bad results, and suddenly you're thinking, oh, switching up like the whole thing, like. And this literally happened to me. Like, I had a couple of not so great weigh-ins, and my energy was down, and my strength was going down, and I was like, right, okay. I was thinking of like scrapping the whole workout program, like, training 3 days a week like isn't enough. I need to up the volume. I need to start eating more, and that's I've only given it like 2 weeks, like, and it's with this diet. There's always going to be an initial sort of like, well, not always, but it's quite common that there's going to be an initial dip in energy and performance, and then after a few weeks, it will eventually come back. So yeah, sort of like meditated on it, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna keep things the same. I'll give it another week or two, and if performance doesn't come back, then I'll start to mix things up and not just make any rash decisions based off like 1 or 2 sessions or like 1 or 2 days. I will go onto a slide and show you my weigh-ins for the week to finish. So here are my weigh-ins from week 2. So day 8 to day 15. That's like Monday to Monday. So in total, down 2 kilos, and 650 grams of that was fat, and 1.26 kilos was muscle. Yeah, I'm slightly alarmed at the amount of muscle I'm losing, and particularly because that actually correlates to my gym performance. If this said, for example, that my muscle was going down, but I was getting stronger in the gym, then that would sort of like overwrite it. Because if your lifts are going up, if you're training with intensity close to failure, and your lifts are going up, then I don't think it makes sense that muscle mass is going down. But the fact that muscle mass is going down and my strength is going down, it's sort of got alarm bells ringing. So for week 3, I'm definitely going to focus on eating more, and also I'm going to increase my training frequency. So I'm going to start doing 2 days on, 1 day off, and hopefully that will get my strength back in the right direction again. So overall results, sorry, the picture is a bit blurry, it's a screenshot. So in 2 weeks of this diet, I'm down 4 kilos and 1% body fat in total, which, if you average out per week, is 2 kilos down per week and 0.5% body fat. So definitely the focus for the coming week is just getting that strength back up. because that's the main metric for me really with this diet. Obviously, it's only been 2 weeks. I'm still, my body is still becoming fat adapted. So I think the best thing to do is just not jump to any conclusions and change anything radically. Just sort of tweak it as we go along, and as I'm learning along this journey. And yeah, we'll see how week 3 goes. That's everything for today. Thanks for watching, and coaching links in the description, and I'll see you tomorrow.